Are you ready?
I'm ready.
He's ready. John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland. Come over the bridge, go through one set of lights, start looking left. Pull a U, park in front of the store. Red neon light, can't miss us. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends, come on the show with me. Have your own podcast. Do something with your life. You know? Do something with your life. Have your own podcast. Dave will tell you how at the very end of this. You listen, and then you can come here and do exactly what I'm doing now. But you will do it your way because it's your podcast. Why am I getting lost on this? I'm going in circles about this part. I didn't even introduce my guest, AJ Gundell. Is that it?
That's good.
It?
That's a good start.
Is that the way you say it?
Gundell. It's pretty close. It's
Gundell.
been a lot worse has been done. Let me tell you that.
Okay. AJ Gundell.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Mr. Peckman.
Of course. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no problem. My pleasure. My pleasure. So I don't know you terribly well, which is always the best for me because I don't have to pretend to be interested because I actually don't know the answers. Or sometimes I have to act like, oh, really? I didn't realize that. So this will be a voyage of discovery, which is good.
It is. And I'm honestly really glad to be here and thank you for having me. And great that we met for the first time just a couple months ago because I've been hearing your name for years.
Really?
Yeah, seriously, because I have a bunch of friends in the area who've been hanging with you, playing with you. I mean, about John Peckman, I started to think he doesn't really exist.
Where you get a load of this clown? Yeah.
But no, so I'm glad we met. I'm glad we're here, and thanks for having me.
No problem. Yeah, no sweat.
Yeah.
So tell us about yourself. You play guitar at least. What are you primarily known as around here?
Well, I don't know. I've had
Music.
a 45-year career around here, so it's gone through a few different incarnations.
Sure.
But it started as a singer, songwriter, guitar player.
Okay.
In a band called the Helium Brothers, which might have been a little before your time, maybe back in New Haven, mid-'70s.
Okay. Yeah.
I've never left Connecticut since. I've been here in various places since, making a living, making music in Connecticut, and I owe a great debt to the state and various towns. New Haven was a great place to start my career.
That's what they say.
And it still is a great town. It's gone through some changes, but
and you live there?
I lived there. I lived outside of there for a while.
That's cool.
Now I live down in Fairfield County in Wilton and have for 25 years.
Wow.
Close enough to New York to be able to partly make a living down there.
Hey, that's cool.
It's been super cool. I mean, it's as we'll probably discuss. I mean, the career tracked through New York in a lot of ways. Yeah,
I mean, I think I've said this before, even as a player, but you're going to talk about it in a different context as far as what you do. But Connecticut, I guess everybody likes to badmouth where they're from just because that's what we do. But we're pretty lucky because you could make a living playing because there's markets available in Connecticut. Like you say, you could work New York, you could work Boston, you could work Providence, you could work all of New England, even doing one-nighters and develop as players. That's what I found. Whereas if you lived in, Wyoming, you know what I mean? Like I know I'm from Pittsburgh and people, they play Pittsburgh or Cleveland and that's it. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah, I mean, not for nothing, but Connecticut itself has always been a great place to make music.
And then that too.
But you're right. And it's surrounded by, hubs. Musically. But, as I say, Connecticut has been very good to me. New Haven, where I started. That start was in mid-'70s, basically the height of the baby boomers entering the workplace in college and such. Sure. The drinking age was 18 years old.
Right. Yeah.
It was just an amazing time for going out and going to clubs and drinking. And so, therefore, it was an amazing time for bands.
That's what they say.
And so I was really fortunate to have met with the Helium Brothers.
Yeah.
We met I went to Yale and met the guys there. We started on campus doing some gigs, and we got some gigs off campus. And when I graduated, I had a full calendar of freaking gigs, and so I never looked back. And the night of my graduation, I played at the Arcadia Ballroom on Whaley Avenue.
Did you put your education to use in any way?
Well, I mean, I think I did. I mean, for one thing, my education enabled me to meet those musicians
Yeah, right.
You know, and I did take some music there. Although in truth, I was a philosophy major.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, you could ask if that's been any use at all.
Probably.
Well, you know, if it helped me solve problems,
yeah,
if
right.
you will,
Right, sure.
you know, maybe that's come in handy in the music business.
I would think so.
45 years.
You never know. You might have used more of it than you think.
I'd like to think that it did. The fact that I actually went not only to Yale, but I went back to Yale. I took a year off.
Oh, wow.
And I traveled through Europe.
Okay.
And this is a story that you know, in the heading of how did you get your start?
Yeah, sure.
I found myself traveled through Europe. Found myself in Greece and on Crete.
Yeah, right.
And on the southern side of Crete, which is overlooking the Mediterranean and across to Africa.
Okay.
And I had no particular reason why. I just, you know, itinerant, moving around, following my gut and my heart where I want. There I was, and this little town called Matala.
Okay.
And playing, hanging out, playing music all the time. With, you know, and there's a little taverna there. Taverna was called the Mermaid Cafe.
Okay.
So one night I'm at the Mermaid Cafe playing music. Somebody yells, "Hey, can you do Joni Mitchell's song? How about Carrie?" Right? So
sure.
I'm playing the song Carrie, and so let's go down to the Mermaid Cafe.
Oh, whoa!
Right? You with me so far? And I'm like, WTF? There, like,
wait a
what's
minute.
happening here? And they're playing that scratchy rock and roll beneath the Matala moon.
And you're like, oh, damn.
I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
Like swear words I can't say on
That's
the
heavy.
podcast.
Wow. That's why they requested it. They probably, every person, like
Everybody there but me knew that the song was about there.
And you found out in real time. That's heavy.
It was extremely heavy because that was the moment that I really found my calling as a musician. I realized, you know, I traveled halfway around the world to land in this place magically.
Right.
And
where she was on the trail. That was her trail.
And her whole thing. She had traveled too and found herself there with a guy named Carrie, who was a redheaded.
Then imagine somebody comes up and introduces himself as Carrie, and he has a cane.
I think he had he was long gone. But you know the song.
Yeah.
You know, another little interesting tidbit was during my stay in Matala, this big tour bus, flower power decorated tour bus drives up, and this driver of the bus with a bunch of kids on the bus gets off. His name is Patch.
Okay.
So Patch and the kids are all hanging out while we're there. I'm there for almost a month.
Wow.
I found out a few years later, I got back to the States, that Patch, was Patch Adams.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he had started his commune wheels. So it was incredibly magical time that really got me started. As I say.
Was it that town? Now you got me wondering. So it can't be a coincidence. It's got to be that town, that tavern was music friendly. Or was it all just a coincidence that she ended up there, you ended up there? Like, or was this just the time? Like it was on the hippie trail or whatever, and it was just a place?
It was that, and it was coincidence. I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't a special cafe. It was the only cafe in Matala, and Matala is the only town on the southern end of Crete for the.
So anybody that ended up there would play a gig.
Yeah, and it wasn't even a gig. It was just hanging out, shooting with Uzos and whatever.
That's wild.
You know, and
that's pretty wild.
It was extremely wild, and you know,
wow,
got me started realizing that this music stuff is magical, and it's in me, and it was telling me that that's what I needed to do.
Sure.
And you know, 50 years later, through the grace of God, here I am, and I'm
I wonder
grateful for it.
What if they yelled out "Freebird"? And you never made the connection. You know what I mean? Like none of this would have happened. You would have played Freebird, and that would have been it.
I might have played Freebird anyway. It just didn't have the connection.
Can you imagine?
I was playing a whole bunch of stuff. You know, I mean,
Yeah, that's wild. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Imagine that. So you're like, this is it. This is how it begins.
So I come back, and to close the loop, I come back to Yale, and I'm like so not.
Yeah, you just want to get back.
I don't want to finish. I don't want to go to school. I want to get out and play music.
Yeah.
but some better part of whatever brain I had.
And your parents are like, you're going to throw your philosophy career away? What are you, crazy?
Yeah, that was an influential part of the thought process.
You imagine you're going to make a better living being a bum like us than being a philosophy major at Yale.
Well, they weren't convinced at the time, and maybe I wasn't either. But the point I'm about to make is the fact that I went back and I decided to stay enabled me to meet the Helium brothers at school.
So
if I hadn't dropped out and left New Haven unless I'd gone to Boston or New York.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, that's life
You
is
never
like
know.
that, man.
Yeah,
Stuff happens.
Yeah.
You think you're controlling, but it's just
Right.
kind of sending you down some magical spiritual road you don't always control.
Wow, that's interesting.
So met the guys, and we were literally working 5, 6, 7 nights a week a year or two out of school.
So you're like, this is what I pictured doing.
Yeah.
So before that, you weren't really playing a whole lot in New Haven. Like you didn't crack that quite yet.
That's right.
In that way.
Not at all. I mean, I'd done a couple little. I did then and still do play some solo acoustic, and I played a couple of small gigs around New Haven and around campus. But no, it wasn't until the band kicked in, and we started to get some really serious gigs. Not only at Arcadia Ballroom, if you remember that room, but there was another room that had just opened down the street called Toad's Place.
Yeah. Sure.
And we were one of the first bands to play at Toad's Place, along with 50 others.
Yeah, right, sure, but the first crew.
We were in the first round of bands, and such a crazy time, John. I mean, to the point we had a steady Sunday night gig at the Arcadia Ballroom, and no exaggeration, put 300 or 400 people in on a Sunday night at the Arcadia Ballroom.
Sure.
And then Monday, a mile away at Toad's Place, we'd appear. We had a Monday night gig at Toad's.
Yep.
Play a jingle. And you get another 300 or 400 people in Toad's on a Monday night the night after.
Yeah.
That's how insane.
And that's not even the weekend yet.
It's not. It's after the weekend.
Sure. Huh.
So.
Yeah, it must have been quite a time.
Yeah, we wrote a jingle for Toad's. Head on down the road to a Monday night at the Toad. Head on down the road to a Monday night at the Toad. Yeah. So we had.
That was you?
It was. Yeah.
That's cool. So there you are, tearing it up.
So.
Oh, before I forget, you say that's wild that the path. This, what we're doing here, just so you know, is meaningless. It means nothing. There's no connection. I'm being funny. No, you're just saying.
I was going to seriously disagree. I mean,
you say, just so you know, it doesn't mean anything. We're not on any path. There's no path. This is just whatever.
No, it's part of the path.
Hey, you never know.
You know?
You never know.
I'm telling you. Wow. If we hadn't met in Running Empty, I wouldn't be here doing your podcast.
Sure.
Maybe. So that's.
Hey, man.
That's the magic of the connections of the muse that works on us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty wild. So you're tearing it up with them, and then then what?
Yeah, that's a fair question, because we're tearing it up, and then we're sort of not tearing it up, and that's the life cycle.
Is it drinking age? Is that the thing? Is that when the big shake? Because I arrived, when I arrived, it was like, oh man, you should have been here. Like I just missed it. It was like, oh man, just what you're saying. And the minute that I entered the scene, in like 83, 84, everything was over.
Yes, yes.
And I've just been ever since.
It wasn't so much that the scene was starting to fizzle out, but the band was. Band has a life of its own. We went through some changes, and the changes. We were an acoustic quartet, a bluegrass rock band to start.
Oh,
we had a drummer and 5 pieces, but we were always, acoustic. And then we became more electric, and we lost some of that magic. And in the process, the band sort of fizzled and ultimately did break up. I started to do more solo acoustic stuff. We're talking 5 or 6 years in now, into the early 80s.
Yep.
Maybe stuff is starting to not fizzle, but slow down. And anyway, I'm also starting to feel a little bit like, I spent the first 5 years playing and making a great living playing, and really grateful for that, but also starting to wonder if doing a lot of covers in bars is really my thing and what I want to be doing 50 years from now.
Right.
Like sitting with John at this podcast,
I hope this isn't what you wanted to do.
Well, I might have been saying that, that I'd like to be,
why
talking about 50 years in the business.
Hey, some people aren't. Some people are not alive to talk about it, so that's good.
Well, that's why I use the word grateful.
You know what I'm saying?
I
That's
know
what I'm saying.
exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some very good friends of ours, and
Yes.
this goes back to my, I've been
Yeah.
hearing about,
Yeah.
John Peckman for
Yeah.
a while because of our mutual friends, some of whom are not here. But
Yep.
so I started thinking about what might be around the bend, and Healing Brothers had some tapes, some recordings, and started sending stuff out because it was a country. It was a bluegrass rock band, so it had a country flavor to it. Found its way to a ad agency in New York, NWA was the name of the agency, and a guy named Elliot Lawrence, who was the musical director at NWA. And he really liked the sound of the band, and he, for NWA, was doing a jingle campaign for AT&T with a song that you might remember because it was arguably the biggest jingle on the planet. Reach out and touch someone. Yeah, so that was Elliot's gig, and the jingle had gotten so big that they were doing different versions of it, franchising into different markets and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So they wanted to do a country one.
Why not?
And they wanted to do one for Crystal Gale. They wanted.
Oh,
that was the job. And so Elliot called me, said, "You want to submit for this?" And that's all it was. It's just
they had probably a new wave one.
Exactly, a new wave one. They had a funk one, rock. Yeah. So this was the country one, and it was a submission. He undoubtedly had a couple of dozen other submissions, but he called me, and I was super jazzed just to get the call. So of course I took a shot, and I won.
Hey.
So I got that job, and that was a milestone moment.
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
Because now
you're like, there's another thing. There's something else other than. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. There's something else, and not for nothing, but well, I mean, a couple of cool things. For one thing, he flew me down to Nashville for the recording session with Crystal Gale. I met Crystal. I gave her a couple of songs. I was sure she would record. Of course, she didn't do, but but down in Nashville at Columbia Studios for the session.
That's exciting.
Amazing jazz, country cats, and I got a $10,000 check in the mail. So I'm like, $50 a night at Toad's place.
Right.
A $10,000 check in the mail.
Yeah.
$50 a night. So the light bulb kind of goes in my head, and I'm like, okay, this is showing me a way into something.
A way to the mailbox. I'd like to find a way to the mailbox.
The mailbox, and something in the mailbox when you get there.
Sure.
So, excuse me. So that started another track that also does continue. I mean, so the performing track still continues, because we just did a gig 3 months ago together.
Yeah, always.
And I hope, God willing, that never changes. But this track started to.
Yeah.
From that gig with Elliot, he became a sort of a fan and a mentor, honestly, because he gave me a lot of work and was really supportive of a lot of my stuff. But one of the other things, he was a smart as well as super talented guy, and he was the musical director of a bunch of different TV shows and soap operas. And so the soap operas needed music, and he called me to write music for some of the soaps.
Wow.
So there I was. Oh, the other thing was, when that $10,000 check, I bought my first home recording studio.
Why not?
So now I've got my gig at home.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna get started doing this. What was the gear then? What did you have?
I bought a 20-input Ramsa console.
Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah.
But more importantly,
which is now on your phone or whatever. But yeah, back then, yeah.
More importantly, I bought 3 Neumann microphones, and I was literally using them today. I mean,
right, sure.
Yeah, I bought a U47 and a 2 KM84s, and 47's my vocal mic, KM84s. Stereo on the acoustic. So and then they're still there. So
tape machine.
Tape machine was a Fostex 8-track Fostex before I got
like
80-8
like 1 inch
TAC
1 inch
Tascam.
Yeah,
it was the Fostex was a 1/2 inch.
Oh, okay.
The 80-8 was a 1 inch 8-track.
Yeah,
that came a few years after the Fostex.
Yep.
But
yeah, ready to go.
Cranking up. So I'm writing cues, background instrumentals for Elliot for this.
And they're
shows.
using these in, like, you're not just demoing. They're using your audio in the shows.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And then a check arrives in the mail.
Cool.
In between that, I joined BMI,
Sure,
right? ASCAP,
sure,
BMI,
sure,
CSAC.
Sure.
I joined BMI, so I'm able to collect
Yep.
the PRO, public performance
Sure.
rights organizations
Yeah.
money, and so yes, I'm able to not just write or demo, but actually place the music on his shows.
Right. And he had enough work for you, like banging them out.
I was banging them out. I mean, you know,
We need a 15-second after the soap opera. Oh no, he died. The bridge was washed away, and then there's a pensive.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
right. Actually, I'm making fun of the organ because the organ now is actually in history and
Right.
music. No, music
It was
has
starting to
transitioned
I got
to
you.
this very thing,
You were right
and
there.
cats were actually doing exactly what Elliot hired me to do, which is be writing stuff on our own.
So that's what you
home
mean.
rigs.
He saw it. He said, "We need to get out of the cheesy organ thing and get into." Oh wow!
Correct.
So you're right there, at the right moment.
Yep,
That's
lucky
cool.
to be.
Did he have other people he was mentoring? And you were, so why you? You must have had some slice. You must have had something that he could use. You know what I mean? Like you just said, you're this guy, and then maybe this other guy was something else. But you were a spoke in that wheel somehow.
Yeah, good point. And I think that would be basically a acoustic guitar centric kind of sound.
Yeah, yeah.
And the guitar feeds my sound still.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it did, and but so plenty of other guys were more synth oriented and
That's cool.
whatever
Yeah.
beats and what have you.
So you're that guy.
I was sort of that guy.
Wow.
Sort of still am in terms of my own sound.
Yeah.
And that's a great point. He heard me that way. He heard me that way for the reach out thing. You know,
Right.
country-ish flavor.
Yeah. And you were up for the challenge. So
I was up for the challenge. I was up for the work, and I was up for the money.
Had you written? Because you were saying that Healing Brothers are mostly a cover band. How much is this easier to write than I'm going to write a song with 3 verses and a bridge and lyric? Like these are like compositions, mini compositions, right?
They are, and they're instrumentals for the most part.
And you were ready for it?
I had to basically kind of, woodshed and figure it out and listen to stuff. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it isn't that complicated. It's still 12 tones in Western musical scale, and they apply to the background instrumentals as much as the hit songs.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So I kind of figured it out, listened to what was trending, what people were using, and figured it out. And I mean,
And just emotional. So they tell you this is what they just found out, that he's sleeping with the secretary. And then
Right.
we fade to black.
right, that wouldn't
you
be a
go-
pensive cue.
Right. You go,
That-
this is what that sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, to the point a little bit more, it wasn't always two spec, two job. Here's a scene, score it. It's provide us with music that we can use to score the show ourselves in the trenches of the shows. Working off of library of music that the shows.
So this is where the
aggregate.
library is born.
So this
You
also
stack them up.
So this will actually also lead
Okay.
to the next chapter too.
Okay. It's starting to make sense now.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily writing to cue once you get it together. So do you just wake up and go, I feel,
Yeah.
so I'm going to write
Horny.
12, you're right, I'm going to write 12 horny tracks today. I'm going to write 12 cheating tracks. I'm going to write, and just stack them up. Now,
Or,
do they know
or romantic or pensive or moody or excited or
apathetic?
all
How
the-
do you write apathetic?
well,
How do you write
apathetic.
that?
I mean, it's probably a little tension, probably a little sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the moods totally inform all that stuff.
Do you tell, all right, so is this a trade secret?
No,
Does your mentor, does he think you're still writing this does he know you're stacking them? And then you're just like, oh, yeah, I got it. Yeah, here's one. And then he thinks, this guy's a genius. I just named the scenario and the elevator stalled. And, oh, I got one. Like, is that how it works? Or is that how you did it? Like you stack them up?
no, that's how it works. I mean, everybody was basically,
Just
creating
banking
our own library of stuff to basically hopefully place in the libraries of these shows.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh.
And doing it from our own rigs. That's was in the transitional period too.
Yeah.
Before that, Elliot, because I mentioned he's a big band leader. He's an amazing orchestrator. That was really his music gig.
Yeah.
He would put orchestras together to do some of this stuff in legit studios in
right.
like 60s or late 70s before it rolled over into the home gear guys.
That's what I was thinking. Right,
Yeah.
right. So you're there when that's starting to happen. Wow.
Yeah.
So you're like the wrecking crew for those people, for the big contractors that were booking an orchestra.
You know, it's the first time anyone's compared to the wrecking crew, but I really appreciate that.
Well, you know, hey, man.
Because they're role models, and you know, and continue to be amazed at the number of records those guys played on. Gals, Carol, and Hal, and Glenn, and
all those people. I almost did a gig with oh no, I just blew it. Ended up playing the gig with Christine. Don Randy, keyboard player, piano player.
Okay.
Almost got the gig. He was coming east to do some dates.
Okay.
And Vic threw him my name.
Okay.
And we talked, and I wasn't jazz enough, which is fine. I wasn't.
Okay.
I had somebody else to do the gig. But I almost did the gig. That would have been wild.
Yeah.
But, and you know, Christine was totally cool because Christine Ullman ended up doing it. And she was like, no offense. She's like, no offense. You would have been, it was a little bit out of your, you know, you could have done it, but you weren't the right guy for the gig. It's kind of good that you didn't do it. I'm like, that's fine. That's good. Thanks. Because I'm not like a jazz cat. And it was a much more jazz oriented gig than I thought.
Right. Okay.
So, but at first I was like, oh man, this is going to be great. And then they passed me over. And then that was kind of why, you know, I think I talked to him and he got the vibe that I wasn't like the jazz guy. And she was like, it was a pretty heavy jazz gig. I'm like, fine, that's fine. Anyway, Wrecking Crew.
Wrecking Crew.
Almost. Almost. That was
if
part
you can get close.
That's
okay. Good.
I've wrecked a lot of other things, though. That would have been the least.
Your own personal Wrecking Crew.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of wild. So you're right there.
So I'm right there, and then it rolls into another chapter related to all this because I'm connecting to all these shows with my original music, and I get to know the music supervisors on the shows. And so actually a job on the show as a music supervisor, co-music soup opens up like 85 on a show called Guiding Light. Okay. So I take that job 2 days a week. I said, Elliot over, and I said, wow, that sounds amazing. Are you talking full time? Because I didn't want to give up my life as a growing musician. You know? He said, no, how's like 2 days a week? I said, great. So the 2 days a week gig on Guiding Light turned into 25 years on 2 different soaps. For 10 on Guiding Light and another 15 on All My Children.
Wow.
And
and then what is that job like, what you're going to tell me?
Also, it's about working the libraries of music that I just described from the composers and using them to score the shows.
So now you're
hands-on, working the music library,
and then you
scoring to picture.
And you conveniently find that, as it turns out, that your library is the most appropriate for most of the I'm just kidding.
Well,
can you imagine? Well... Well, that's how you got the gig.
No,
right.
It's great that there was some my music that I could also use on the shows, and continue to contribute, both scoring, cues, as well as songs, right? And so that
they're just totally trusting your ear to just be like, so they give you the list of cues, and you're just like boom, 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 boom.
More or less, you know, and then of course there's always a period after each show is scored where the producers or directors take a look at the show and have notes where they decide, you know, fixes are needed, you know, and then you go back and change stuff up. Yeah. But I mean, they trust you to score it in the first place. That's the gig. And
is it stressful?
Yeah, it was stressful.
Because it's got to be. That's just deadline, right? I mean, everything is just.
Yeah, especially with the soap, because I mean, the soap is five a week, 52 weeks a year. I mean,
that's it.
They put shows in the can a month or 2 in advance to be sure. And it is stressful, but it isn't like, as you know, I did a couple of live things too. Live TV is really stressful. So this was a little different.
Once, yeah.
But I mean, it was challenging, but in a great way to be working, 300 people working on these shows from music to hair to makeup to directors to all the actors to lights to sound to videotape. It's a huge operation, and it was incredibly valuable to be working in that kind of a workplace.
I bet.
I learned a ton. And so along the way, and you've probably seen in my bio, I won 13 Emmy Awards for my work on the shows for original songs and background music and music supervision and audio post-mixing too.
So that is developing too, your studio.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, because it's all looping back in, and, and it literally connects to this exact moment where my business is now, is integrating all this stuff that I've, you know, thankfully had the opportunity to learn and develop on these shows. And in audio, I did a run of about 5 years in an audio post facility in New York too, where I was working with the owner of that place, and Peter Fish was his name, a departed friend as well. And but Peter and I won some Emmys together for stuff we wrote, and then I joined his team there as a composer and producer, and we were cranking out stuff that was landing in various places besides the soaps, but working in the audio post facility too. I mean, literally working, learning, looking over the shoulders of some of the best engineers in New York.
So what? So describe.
Taught me Pro Tools.
I got you. So describe post in that context. What is that? He's doing post for what?
Everything commercial that you can
comes through.
Send through, yeah.
And it's just editing, mastering.
Video and audio editing, recording. He had several recording rooms, small booths, but recordable rooms. We could do a live band. And
so what was your day-to-day?
Well, I was part-time there too, but the day-to-day was basically come in and work on whatever the job was that, and part of my gig was to also bring work in to work on. Yeah. And you know, I mean, I brought NBA in as a client, and we ended up writing music, Peter and I, for the launch of NBA TV on cable in 2007.
Wow, you know? Imagine that.
And so that was a perfect example of a gig. I bring in a client, we rewrite the music, and then we produce all the cues, mix, master, edit up the yin yang, because you know, hundreds of different cut downs and mixes and stems.
Imagine how they did it then too. Then that's got to be crazy. I'm supposed now it's probably just like a soundboard. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder.
Well, I mean, we did a lot of hand. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what you think the difference is now. It was a lot of the same stuff now as it is then. I mean,
is it
just working with, you know, DAW stems and creating mixes and splits and tags and bumpers and blah blah. You know,
all that stuff.
Yeah,
that's crazy. You know, it's funny. So you learn all of that just by doing along the way, because your abilities and intelligence are trusted. Can someone go to school to learn probably not. Like in your business.
Yes.
Well, that's what I wonder. No, that's fine. I just wonder, like, are there people who, because you created your niche, whatever, however you want to think about it, you are the sum of all your abilities. You didn't like say, I'm going to gain this title. You just got the calls because your work is making you more visible, and people are going, oh, I bet you he could figure this out. Because, I mean, when they hired you to do posts, were you like, oh, yeah, you probably are like, what does it mean? I'll find out as I do it, right? That's crazy.
On-the-job training is what
That's the best part about our biz sometimes.
It really is. I mean, there's no better place
to learn. You get paid to learn. That's what I always think. I go, the best is when you're getting paid to learn something. There's nothing better than that.
To your question, though, there are schools, and a very recent upcoming chapter of mine is connected to it. But, you know, I mean, Berkeley and Full Sail and, you know, and Western Connecticut, which I'm going to talk about in a second, they have amazing music and audio production.
Right, because they've managed to turn you into a curriculum, kind of, and just say, we can create a degree, we can create a whatever, curriculum.
We can bring in hundreds of kids who are interested in the degree. I mean, and that's it. So there's another way to learn.
You should open a university.
Well, I'm going to work at WestCon I've been hired as an adjunct professor there, and I'm really excited about it. Coming up in a week and a half to start.
We're halfway through. I just want to keep it. If things you want to get to.
Are we good?
Oh yeah, we're totally good. I just want to make sure you don't run out.
I'm right on. Okay. You know, on my story, and I'm.
So you're doing post. You're doing post now. Then we're up to there.
Right. So in post, I'm learning a lot about libraries.
Yeah.
You use the word, and because not only are they original music cues included in libraries and shows, but also production music libraries are included too, which are standalone third-party collections of music that can be licensed track by track.
Okay.
To score the shows when the original music doesn't, for whatever reason, cut it or isn't
right.
The right cue isn't
So
there.
it's almost like the plan B, almost kind of in a way.
For some shows, and currently it's become the plan A because production.
Well, that's what I was going to think next. Is then it just becomes, because I hear that stuff all the time.
Sure, you do.
Same cues over and over, right?
And in fact, I mean, the reality is, and we probably carpet over the horse to get here, but it's almost like the production music libraries have replaced the original music cues because the individual composers and their libraries are a heavier lift for some shows, than actually just licensing a library that might have. I mean, there are a couple of other. I have my own music library, which we can talk about in a minute, but there are some, and I have 1,000 songs in my library, but there are libraries like APM, Associated Production Music, 1 million cues.
Yeah, right.
So, if you make a deal with APM, you can be pretty sure you're going to be able to find stuff you like.
Good
maybe.
Right. So just like anything, the big ones gobble up the smaller ones.
Yeah, and
eventually.
And it also, okay, that's a way to look at it. But also,
but you gobbled up the big. I mean, I'm just saying it. We were saying like you were the wrecking crew. Like there were people. It was a bigger budget then, and you were small. You were, what's the word? Not a step down, but you were more budget, and then it seems like everything just keeps getting more, kinda, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of the word indie. I mean,
okay, yeah.
The indie composers,
right,
were doing what I was doing when I was started, and we were providing a lot of that stuff. But as time went by, it became almost easier for the ABCs and the CBSs and all the channels and now cables and now moving into streamers and blah, blah, blah.
Because there's so much content.
The easiest thing for them to do is not to be lining up a dozen different original music composers, although it still happens,
sure,
but to sign a half a dozen production music libraries and get all the music they need for the most part, except sometimes, not some, but a lot of times, there is a composer hired to actually write some score for a lot of shows have composers.
What do you do?
But a lot of the ancillary music is production music.
Yeah. And do you feel that you were in the heyday? So you kind of were, it sounds like you got in right when that started. So you were kind of in the prime of the indie or the independent composer, right?
In a transition to the production music world, yeah.
You were right in that.
I was, and so in the process of the transition, which happened through the audio post place called Tonic, again with Fish, and we were transitioning ourselves from our own composed cues, scoring and stuff, to we created a small little library called the Tonic Song Library, which was production music.
Sure.
It was another one of the reasons I came on board.
So you saw it, you were like, this is where it's going to go.
Because I was in the trenches seeing it happening and also using it. ABC, itself had a 25 production music libraries, walls of CDs, they're all there.
Sure.
So if the cues off the for the show's library didn't cut it, if Gundell stuff didn't cut it that day, or the other 12 guys, okay, what does APM got for us? What does First Com have for us? What does Megatrack?
But who's making those?
Guys like us who are signed to them. But they own that music, not the composer anymore.
Oh, so you're giving up the
publishing.
Gotcha. Because that's what I was. Because where I was headed with that, I was like, well, why not just sell your library to them? And I'm like, they probably already got it, right? Somehow.
Well, it's common that the smaller libraries do get gobbled up by the big boys too, who are looking for content too. And
well, you realize if someone sees it writing on the wall and they go, well, I'm going to get out a bit. I mean, that's what's happening now. You get Neil Young, everybody signs away because they just go, you know what? How many more bites do I have? Let's take everything one last time, and I'll just ride into the sunset.
Yeah, it's
That's not
interesting.
That's not where you're at, is it? I mean,
no.
you're still in it. You're still
I'm
swinging. You're
yeah,
going to go down
I'm also
swinging.
not Neil Young. I mean,
Well-
who could basically decide, unlike Dylan or Springsteen or Paul Simon, to not sell his catalog for $500 million? God
And it
bless
ain't
him,
going
you
to
know.
be worth that. You give it another 5 years. You know what I mean? Like that, they probably realize, like, dude, this is your last. This is to set up your grandchildren's grandchildren. You do this now.
It's
because
funny this comes
who
up.
knows in another handful of years what even that's going to be worth. I don't want to be pessimistic, but who knows? You know.
I just saw a little YouTube of Neil basically saying he's not going there. He's happy as a clam. Still just making his music, working, going out, gigging when he wants. He's got a tidy little sum of publishing revenue coming to himself. He doesn't need to have it. I don't care about the $500 million. I just want to ride off into the sunset doing what I love to do. And God bless him for it.
Yeah. Well, I guess everybody's different. You know, some people are probably like, I got to right the wrong, or I got to make everything right, or I got to set everybody up one last time, or whatever, set yourself up. Who knows what he did.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, the way it sort of rolls into the present is that, you know, I've got now my own library. It's called Future Hits. It's, like I said, it's really what we call boutique. It's got 1,000 songs, but really talented songwriter composers, and I've basically put together a library that I license directly myself to, you know, major media clientele, and I have some of my music in it, and it's part of what I do in my you know, my dungeon downstairs. You know, as I put my library together and I license it to film and TV and advertising. Future Hits,
and it's still doing it enough.
It is. It's become its own challenge because, again, let's connect all these dots, John, right? Now, production music has become the thing, and synchronization licensing has become the thing because sales and downloads and all that part is caved.
Right.
Spotify has come in.
Right.
People are making 0.00001 on the stream.
Yeah.
But sync still lives.
Oh, okay.
Consequently, everybody's going to sync. Consequently, all the people
And
who are
then
already in sync have
gets flooded.
competition.
Right.
So that's what we're dealing with now, and it's hard.
Yeah, right.
But I've got some, you know, I've got the NBA as a client, as myself, I have music licensing to them, and Warner Brothers, and, Discovery.
There's probably more clients than ever, though, too, in a way.
Well, that's the upside of the amount of stuff, right? Is the fact that there is a tremendous amount of opportunity, right?
Right.
There are a gazillion shows, and they all need music somehow or other.
But then again, their budgets are probably not right. So you just go around in a
and as a result of that, when they're negotiating for their next sync fee, they have 10 different little libraries and small
trying to
composers.
undercut each other. Everybody's trying.
I'll give this to you for free just to be able to say I got on a Netflix show. And Future Hits, we was looking to make, you know, a few $1,000s on a sync fee, gets undercut by the the guy the kid across the street who just graduated from Berkeley.
Sure. On a curriculum
Looking
that
for their first
you
cut.
helped create with your
So it goes, man. But you know,
well, you're still here. You know what I mean?
I'm blessed.
I mean,
you just took the words out of my mouth. I mean, I'm just blessed to still be here and doing my thing.
Yeah. Wow.
And I try to remind myself of that every day in the midst of the.
No one said it. No one said it would be easy. You know what I mean, though?
They didn't. You know, even at the Mermaid Cafe.
Right.
When I was playing Joni Mitchell's song, Not Realizing It, and Found My Calling.
Yeah.
Even then, no one said, you know, it's going to be easy, dude.
No.
It's going to be this much fun all the time.
Well, I mean, you know, hey, well, you're a philosophy major, so I don't know, but yeah, there's fun. It's just not there at the end of something. It's any moment. That's the way I look at it. I just go, well, I'm on vacation right now. I might not be in an hour. In an hour, I'm going to feel like I'm under the gun, but like, okay, rather than someday. I think.
I agree.
I try.
I do too. And it's about the moments. It's about living in the moments as much as possible, and not about the stress of what's, you know, may or may not be around the bend or didn't happen yesterday that you thought was, you know, the license agreement came across my desk and and then the day after it got pulled, you know, and it's like, oh, geez, you know, now Future Hits and the writer just lost a few $1,000s because they changed something in post.
Right, and then it just it evaporated. Are you optimistic, pessimistic, just in it? You're just in it. You're in it. You're just in it. Are you going to get out? You're going to get out in one piece?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I used to joke, and it's not a joke anymore, but I used to say that I'm going to retire when they throw the first shovel of grave on my casket.
Sure.
But now I don't joke about that because
it ain't funny.
Because the caskets are out there.
Yeah.
And we know some people. And
yep.
so I don't joke about it, but I'm hopeful that I can continue to do this as long as I want to do it, because there's nothing better in the working world than to be doing something you love as much as we love music.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you in this moment now doing such a cool thing for yourself.
Why not?
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I can tell you love it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because you show up over 100 times for it. How many is it?
Well, it's because Dave, it's whatever. It's a whole other story.
It's a good story, though. I mean,
yeah. Well, you know what?
And it's part of this what we're talking about.
Well,
story.
Dave, he's not in the room, so I can talk about him. But Dave is a sweetheart. He asked me to. It was his idea, and I just was like, sure. You know what I mean? Like, because I would do anything that he asked me to do. So he was like, you're going to do a podcast. I said, okay. What's a podcast? I didn't even know what it was. You know what I mean? So it takes the pressure off me, because I'm not like trying to do something. I'm doing it because he asked me to. And then here we are 100-something later. And I'm like, yeah, this is cool.
On-the-job training.
On-the-job training. That's exactly.
Didn't know what it was, but I found out as I did it. And we got to be open to that kind of the stuff that
that's sometimes the best part when it works.
Well, but we got to be open to giving it a try.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I just flashed on an early producer on Guiding Light, first one, pulled me aside a few months into it, you know, and I asked her about something that I had recently done. And she said, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure if you quite have the knack for this yet. and that like totally kicked me in the ass. And I realized, you know, I have to figure this out better. Right?
Well,
so it's the on the job thing, but also learning on the job how to do better by listening to your producer, like looking over the shoulder of the engineer in the audio post rooms and drinking up everything.
Well, would you can. Like you say, in our biz, would you rather be doing that, or would you rather be sleepwalking through your job that you hate, counting the days? So
precisely.
I'll take the whatever this is.
Yes.
Kinda. Right? I mean, you know.
Yeah.
You know, in a way. Which actually, you know, I go, I'll take this. We did. You could have said, well, actually, you ever think about this? That your philosophy career, how worse that would have been even crazier. So you didn't even have a play it safe.
I really didn't. You know what my play it safe was?
What?
The mantra that I had to myself that if I couldn't make a respectable living doing what I wanted to do, that I would go to plan B. I wasn't sure what it would be, but my line for myself was either make this work
or learn to behave,
and don't call mom and dad for the rent. Yeah, because if you have to do that, then you have to do something else.
I agree. Yeah, that was my thing too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I never asked anybody for anything. Were your parents proud of you? Are they proud of you? Were they proud of you?
Great question.
Well,
long answer that'll end up in my memoir, you know. But the short answer is, yeah, they were. It took them a while to get there, and it certainly didn't hurt, you know, that when the Emmy Awards started to happen, they weren't sure about, you know, the left turn off the philosophy degree at Yale to play in the bluegrass rock band at Toad's Place.
But the bluegrass rock band to the Emmys, that they must have recognized that and
they
said,
did.
That's my son.
They did, and in fairness and with love for them, they also came to Healing Brothers gigs. It wasn't they dissed their kid because he didn't do what they really kind of in their heart of hearts were thinking that they would when they shelled out what they did for my Ivy League education.
What would you have done?
And now my mom is just the only one left, and my dad's gone. But she's she loves,
Wow.
she's in a home, we're sitting around having lunch, and somebody walk by. This is my son. He's got Emmy Award.
Yeah, sure, of course. What would you have done with your philosophy degree?
I don't know.
You ever think about that?
I don't think about it that much. I mean, I don't.
Because that was probably chancier than what you ended up doing. Like when you think
what philosopher to make a living? I mean, you got to teach, really.
Freelance philosopher. Huh.
So yeah,
Dude, we got 10 minutes.
Well, so I mean, last thing I want to say is just as I did reference that I'm about to start a gig at WestCon in the music department as an adjunct professor of songwriting, which I'm super psyched about.
Hey,
So
you write long form too, along the way.
You mean like songwriting?
Yeah.
I'm
you know what I mean?
First and foremost, I think of myself as a songwriter.
Right. Because most of this we're talking about cues.
We have been.
Stuff.
That's true. Yeah. No. I mean, the songs are. 3 of the Emmys are for original song. I mean,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't just. Yeah.
So that's always there.
Yeah, it's always there, and it's the hugest part of what I do. And Future Hits is about the songs.
Gotcha.
It's a song library.
Yeah.
Our slogan is the greatest songs you've never heard.
It's right.
So I'm more about the song than anything else. I mean, Jackson Browne.
Yeah, sure. One after the other.
He's an idol for me. James Taylor, the Beatles. When I started.
Yeah. All that.
Loving all this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all about the songs, and so to be teaching it to some serious students.
That's cool.
I'm excited. I'm a little daunted. I'm kind of, it's another one of those. Well, I guess I'll figure this out as I go.
And you probably imagined before you said someone that wins a pile of Emmys probably just sits around. You know what I mean? Like they're not hustling, they're not in it, and you realize that was just a blip. Along, it just the Emmys came flying by as you were on the way to something else.
Well, what they've done is they've enabled me to keep working to some degree.
Right.
To some degree.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I mean, that's what it's for, right? I mean, I guess in a way it's a recognition. It makes you legit. It legitimizes you, whatever.
Yeah, so and that helps you get more work. So and then just to cap it, I mean, right now I run my own business called the One Stop Music Shop, which is recording, 3 things: recording, instruction, and licensing, and they're all sort of interconnected. So I might teach someone in some way and then get them into the studio to record, and then possibly the recording could end up getting licensed to Future Hits, or any reverse. Like a Future Hits person could come to me to co-write a song together, and we might license it, or etc. But that's my thing, and every once in a while I still have the opportunity to play with talented cats like you and to make some music and stuff.
If you say so. Yeah, that was a crazy gig.
It was, and it's a cool band, crazy cool band, and a lot of talented cats, and
for sure,
and all, and
we have like 7 minutes. Do you want to play a song?
I could play a song.
Do you want to? Or
I'm happy to.
Or do you want to answer wacky questions? Let me tell you what the questions are.
What are the wacky questions?
And you tell me whether you would rather answer the questions or play a song out.
Is it an either or? Could we do some questions and then a song out?
Do a quick. All right, I'll ask you questions. You ready? Desert Island albums. Give me a few.
Desert Island albums?
That define, yes.
Oh, this is your bailiwick, man. I can't compete with you on this.
No, it's not a competition. I just mean like.
I can't even. I mean, Desert Island albums.
Like what albums you take most pleasure in listening to?
I'm sorry. I thought you meant albums that were recorded on Desert Island.
No. Were there albums recorded on Desert Islands? I'm not. Is that a genre I'm not familiar with?
Because, well, dude, I mean, because.
I challenge you. What album was recorded? No, I meant no.
The reason I thought of it because I read your post and you're like, this amazing, these playlists. I thought you were going down the playlist.
No,
you're going
some
down
of your favorite albums
of all time.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm ready.
Rubber Soul.
Yeah.
Sweet Baby James.
Sure.
Blue.
Sure.
Tommy.
Sure. Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Harvest.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
After the Gold Rush.
Yep.
Sounds
good
blanks?
to me. Which one?
Why am I drawing blanks?
I mean, that sounds.
Is that a good top 5?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, I think that's pretty good. That gives us an idea.
Yeah. I mean, singer, songwriter.
Yeah.
Acoustic guitar player stuff. And if the Beatles, On Rubber Soul.
Yeah,
that's,
right.
That's what's...
That's the origin. Yeah, sure.
You know.
Yep.
On Rubber Soul, right? It's,
Oh boy, here we go.
Well,
hey, wait, Desert Island food.
Desert Island food.
Yeah, food. Real quick. Just say pizza.
Marinated flank steak.
Oh, okay. All right. Hey.
This is like ground zero for me. I once had a girl, or should I say, she once had me. She showed me her room, isn't it good, Norwegian wood. She asked me to stay and she told me to sit anywhere. So I looked around and I noticed there wasn't a chair. And when I awoke, I was alone, this bird had flown. So I lit a fire, isn't it good, Norwegian wood.
Hey. Beautiful.
Ground zero. You know, that's when I picked this up and start to play it for,
Got that right.
for real.
Do you know about my dulcimer career? Well,
I think I might have heard something.
Yeah, we were in lockdown. We were in lockdown, and I was fooling around with one. I can play Norwegian wood on the dulcimer. But you got to use a capo, if you can imagine that. Like, it's a weird tuning.
It's hard to get a capo around a dulcimer neck.
It's a special capo.
Okay,
it's like this weird.
Okay,
but yeah, that's one of my numbers. If I would have known, I would have brought my next time.
Next time,
yeah,
we'll have to do some jamming on.
Figure out what key it's in. I can play it in D open anyway. But yeah, that's killer.
So I mean, I could play you an Emmy.
Yeah, do another.
An Emmy-Award winning song.
Why don't you?
So, and I didn't tell this story, but the first time I was nominated for an Emmy Award, I was nominated for 2.
Hey.
And I won both that night. It was a unforgettable night and another, kind of career milestone. So this was the song that won. It's called Love Like This. This house is so full of memories and dreams I've lost and found. Everything rushes back to me as I take one last look around. I see the smile of a woman I loved and lost. Blew the words. Forgot my own words. In and on me, like a light that guides my way. Get it, guiding light?
Oh.
And home gives me the feeling that I'm never far from home. Even when the road is dark and I'll be out there on my own. So as I pack my bags to leave, I close my eyes and make believe I'm gonna find love like this again. Now looking back, I can see mistakes I made at love. No matter how you try, sometimes get to a place you can't rise above. I see the smile of a woman I've loved and lost. It's impossible to measure the gains, the cost. Bitter and sweet is the way I taste these tears. And home gives me the feeling that I'm never far from home. Even when the road is dark and I'll be out there on my own. So as I pack my bags to leave, I close my eyes and start to believe I'm gonna find love like this again. The wind will blow my way and then I'll be back, I just don't know when. That's when I'll find love like this again. Back home, that's when I know I'll find love like this again. I'm gonna find love like this again.
Hey, very nice, very nice. Excellent work, excellent work.
Thank you, John.
Were you attempted at all to slip in the words "all my children" at home, surrounded by all my children"? In that, just as a
Not for a song from Guiding
that's
Light.
what I'm saying. Yep.
They wouldn't have
That's a way to,
appreciated that.
that's a way to lose an Emmy.
Yeah, right.
Well, that should be well, I was going to say before, I was going to say that should be your meme. You're like, I don't always win Emmys, but when I do, I win too. You know what I'm saying?
So actually, the slight add-on to that is the year after that, I got nominated for 2 again, and I won 2 again.
Whoa.
And then it was all sort of downhill.
Well, it could only
Never
be.
won
It could
2
only
again
be.
in 1 year.
Well,
No, I mean, I was super lucky even to get those nominations.
Yeah,
like that.
not anybody can. Not a lot of people can say that. That's for sure. We're gonna go there. How about that? All right.
Are we gone?
We're gonna be. We're gonna be.
This is so much fun.
Yeah, no, it is fun. We'll come back. We'll
I'll come back and
once
I'll play my other Emmy-winning song.
That's what I'm saying. That's that. They're each double dip. Each of them is a double winner.
And some other Beatles song that I.
Well, we'll work it up. We'll confer. Maybe I'll play the dulcimer. We'll do Norwegian Wood. We'll figure it out.
Let's plan on that.
That would be killer. All right, AJ Gundell. Right?
Well said.
Close enough?
Perfect. Thank you well done, man.
Hey.
Thank you. You're a pleasure to talk to.
Hey.
Easy to talk to.
But not everybody thinks so. But
Well,
that's okay.
I've done a few interviews, and this was super easy and super fun.
You heard it here first.
So thank you, man.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's a gift. What can I tell you?
It is.
I'm not going to hide my light under a bushel.
Don't hide your love away.
That's right. That's right. John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Come over the bridge, go through one set of lights, start looking left, full of Yui, park in front of the music store with the red neon light, have your own podcast. Dave will tell you how. Tell your friends. Come here, be on the show with me. AJ Gundell, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
And thank you, my friend.
You got it. You got it. See you later, kids. That is all.
If you'd like to start your own podcast, give us a call at Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Our professionally designed podcast space is here for all your recording needs. Rent out our studio to do interviews with up to 4 people, to record audiobooks, social media content, and all other recorded material. Our rentals include a private studio along with our professional-grade podcasting equipment, and we can customize your output to whatever your needs are. We also have green screen capabilities, which will expand to video capability if you so wish. So check us out here at convalley.net/podcast.